Hello my friends, Dr. Mandell here. Today I'm going to share something extremely powerful for seniors struggling with thinning hair, weak follicles, and accelerated hair loss. There is one natural oil that has been shown in multiple studies to help regrow hair, strengthen your scalp, and reduce shedding almost instantly by improving blood flow and nourishing each follicle deeply. And that oil is rosemary oil. Rosemary oil does something almost no other natural remedy can do. It awakens a dying scalp within minutes. And when you hear what happens inside the skin the moment a senior applies just a few drops, you'll understand why so many people call it the closest thing to an instant hair loss solution nature has ever created. Because the truth is this, hair doesn't fall out because you're old. It falls out because the scalp has stopped receiving the one thing every follicle depends on for survival: blood. And when blood flow drops, follicles suffocate in slow motion. They grow weaker, thinner, smaller, until they simply give up. But rosemary oil interrupts that decline with a speed that scientists still find astonishing. Researchers discovered that rosemary oil contains compounds so powerful they can increase scalp microcirculation within 3 minutes of contact. 3 minutes. That means oxygen, nutrients, and growth factors, things your follicles haven't felt in years, suddenly surge back into the skin like opening a fire hydrant after a drought. Imagine a forest starved of water, the trees droop, the soil cracks, the roots dry out, then imagine rain returning after years of nothing. That's what rosemary oil does to an aging scalp. It brings rain to a desert. It wakes up roots that were barely holding on. Seniors often blame age for their thinning hair, but age isn't the culprit. Reduced circulation is. Studies show that blood flow to the scalp drops by almost 40% after the age of 60. That means follicles aren't dead, they're starving. And rosemary oil is one of the only natural treatments that can reverse that starvation almost instantly. The magic lies in a molecule called carnosic acid, a compound so healing that researchers found it can repair damaged nerve endings in the scalp. When nerve endings repair, the brain reconnects with follicles that have gone silent. And when communication returns, growth returns. That's why seniors who massage rosemary oil into their scalp often feel a warm, tingling sensation. It's the sensation of circulation being restored, the feeling of blood waking up tissue that's been asleep for years. Scientists compared rosemary oil to minoxidil, one of the world's most popular hair growth drugs, and found something shocking. Rosemary oil performed just as well, and in some cases better, at increasing hair thickness and reducing shedding. And unlike minoxidil, rosemary oil doesn't dry the scalp, doesn't irritate the skin, and doesn't cause long-term dependency. It simply supports the scalp the way nature intended, by restoring circulation and lowering inflammation. Inflammation is the hidden enemy here. As we age, inflammatory molecules increase across the body, including the scalp. Those molecules choke follicles, shrink roots, and accelerate hair loss. But rosemary oil contains natural anti-inflammatories that have been proven to reduce swelling in the scalp within minutes, allowing the follicle to breathe again. Think of it like clearing smoke from a burning room. Once the air is clean, life inside can finally recover. There's another villain seniors don't usually hear about, DHT, the hormone that shrinks hair follicles. After age 55, DHT sensitivity skyrockets, especially in men but also in many women. Most people think you need harsh medication to block DHT, but rosemary oil contains natural DHT-reducing compounds that gently protect the follicle without disrupting hormones. This is why rosemary oil is so effective for older adults. It doesn't fight the scalp, it supports it. It doesn't force growth, it allows growth. Every time a senior massages rosemary oil into their scalp, tiny capillaries, some of which haven't carried full circulation in years, begin to open. Microscopic blood vessels expand, oxygen rushes in, heat rises as nutrient-rich blood begins feeding the follicle at a rate it hasn't seen since your younger years. This reaction is so fast, so measurable, that scientists can observe the increase in blood flow through thermal imaging. But circulation is only part of the story. When blood reaches those neglected follicles, it carries with it zinc, biotin, iron, amino acids, vitamin D, and other compounds needed for hair creation. Without circulation, these nutrients never reach the follicle. With circulation restored, the follicle begins to rebuild itself from the inside. This is why seniors who use rosemary oil consistently report feeling their hair grow stronger at the root. That sensation is real. Follicles are reinflating, thickening, re-strengthening, almost like muscles responding to physical therapy after years of atrophy. And here's the most emotional truth. Most seniors think their hair loss is permanent, when in reality their follicles are still alive, just quiet, just waiting. And rosemary oil gives them the signal they've been missing. When circulation returns, hair enters what scientists call the anagen phase, the active growth phase many seniors haven't experienced in decades. It's not magic, it's biology. When blood returns, life returns. Think about this. In one clinical study, people who used rosemary oil for just 6 months saw significant regrowth in bald patches that hadn't improved in years. Let that sink in. Hair that had stopped growing began returning simply because the scalp was finally receiving enough blood and oxygen to repair itself. This is why so many older adults notice strands becoming darker, thicker, and more resilient. It's why shedding slows. It's why they begin seeing baby hairs along the hairline, something they thought they'd never see again. And the most shocking part? This transformation begins from the very first massage, because circulation improves instantly, follicles wake up instantly, blood flow increases instantly, the inside healing process begins instantly. That's why people describe the sensation as immediate relief for the scalp. It's the first step toward recovery, and it happens within minutes. Hair loss is emotional. It affects confidence, identity, dignity. But seniors need to hear this loud and clear. Your follicles are not dead. They are waiting for activation. They are waiting for circulation. They are waiting for oxygen. And rosemary oil is one of the fastest, safest, most scientifically supported ways to give your scalp exactly what it's been missing. Every time you massage it in, you're telling your follicles, wake up, you're not done, you still have life left. And the moment blood begins flowing, they listen. Rosemary oil was never supposed to compete with a pharmaceutical drug. And yet, in one of the most surprising findings in modern hair science, researchers discovered that rosemary oil performed just as effectively as 2% minoxidil, the world-famous hair growth medication, without the side effects millions quietly struggle with. But to understand why this shocked the scientific community, you first need to know what minoxidil actually is. Minoxidil was never created for hair. It began as a treatment for high blood pressure. Doctors noticed something unexpected. Patients started growing hair on their faces, arms, and scalp. That accidental discovery led to the creation of a topical hair growth solution used worldwide. But minoxidil is powerful because it forces blood vessels to dilate. It literally pressures your scalp into opening its circulation channels. And here's where the story becomes incredible. Rosemary oil can create a similar stimulation naturally by activating the scalp's biological healing mechanisms instead of forcing them. In a 2015 clinical study that has now become legendary in natural medicine circles, scientists placed two groups side by side. One group applied rosemary oil. The other used 2% minoxidil. 6 months passed, and the results stunned everyone. The rosemary group showed equal improvement in hair thickness, scalp health, and reduced shedding as the minoxidil group. But the real shock came from the participant feedback. Those using minoxidil complained of itching, dryness, flakes, irritation, common side effects that many people never talk about but silently endure. The rosemary group, almost none. A natural oil matching a pharmaceutical powerhouse at restoring hair density without damaging the scalp barrier was something nobody expected. But the science goes deeper than a single comparison. Rosemary oil works through pathways minoxidil can't reach. While minoxidil focuses on blood flow, rosemary adds layers of biological defense. It reduces inflammation, a major cause of follicle shrinkage. It acts as an antioxidant shield, protecting follicle cells from oxidative stress, a form of microscopic rusting that accelerates with age. And it supports nerve repair in the scalp, helping re-establish communication between hair follicles and the nervous system. One study even found rosemary oil could help regenerate damaged tissue, something minoxidil was never designed to do. The moment rosemary touches the scalp, its compounds begin interacting with receptors beneath the skin. Carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid, two of its most studied molecules, start working like microscopic engineers. They help improve cellular turnover, allowing old, dead skin that suffocates follicles to break down and clear out. They assist in reducing calcium overload inside cells, the same calcium imbalance linked to follicle hardening in aging scalps. And they help maintain a healthier scalp microbiome, something scientists now believe is crucial for long-term hair survival. But one of the most emotional truths behind this discovery is how accessible rosemary oil is. Minoxidil comes in a bottle with warnings, instructions, cautions, potential reactions. Rosemary oil comes from a herb that has grown in kitchens, gardens, and mountainsides for thousands of years. Yet inside that humble plant lies a pharmacological profile potent enough to stand toe-to-toe with a drug that dominates the global hair loss industry. This revelation awakened a possibility that many seniors find deeply comforting, that nature has not abandoned them, that their follicles are not doomed to fade, that solutions can come from something gentle instead of something harsh. And when seniors learn that rosemary oil may address not just one, but multiple root causes of thinning hair, something shifts inside them. They realize they are not fighting age. They are fighting inflammation, circulation decline, oxidative stress, conditions the human body was never meant to handle alone. One of the most overlooked findings in the rosemary research was the timeline of improvement. While minoxidil users saw faster short-term changes, the rosemary group's results caught up and matched them at the 6-month mark. This suggests something profound. Rosemary oil is not a quick illusion. It's a long-term restorative process. Instead of forcing follicles to respond, it nourishes them back to life. And for many older adults, this difference matters. Forced growth often fades the moment treatment stops. Restored health has a longer, more stable impact. Scientists also discovered that rosemary oil helps calm DHT sensitivity at the scalp level. DHT is the hormone responsible for shrinking follicles over time. Minoxidil does not block DHT, it simply stimulates circulation around it. Rosemary, however, contains compounds that may help reduce DHT's damaging effects directly, giving follicles a chance to breathe, expand, and return to normal size. This alone positions rosemary as a more holistic option for age-related thinning. But the emotional impact of these findings reaches far beyond biology. Many seniors feel powerless when their hair begins to thin. They feel age is erasing them, strand by strand. Watching the brush fill with hair becomes a daily reminder that time is moving faster than they can stop. But hearing that something natural, something calming, something gentle can perform as well as a global medication gives them hope they haven't felt in years. It tells them their body can still respond. It tells them their follicles, though weakened, are still alive. It tells them that healing is still possible. Rosemary oil doesn't promise miracles. It doesn't claim overnight transformation. What it offers is something far more meaningful, consistent, biologically supported improvement that strengthens with time. Every massage increases circulation without forcing it. Every drop reduces irritation instead of creating it. Every application supports the follicle instead of stressing it. Minoxidil may stimulate, rosemary nurtures. Imagine two paths to the same destination. One pushes the body forward, rushing it, demanding response. The other guides the body gently, allowing it to rebuild itself gradually, restoring the environment hair needs to thrive. For seniors, that second path is often the one their scalp responds to best. And that is why this study matters, because it reminds us that nature still has tools powerful enough to compete with modern pharmaceuticals, because it gives older adults an option that aligns with their body instead of overwhelming it, because it proves something humanity has forgotten. Sometimes the most advanced healing comes from the simplest sources, and sometimes the greatest solutions are not invented. They are rediscovered. Most seniors apply hair products the same way they did decades ago, quickly, casually, without realizing how much their scalp has changed. But the truth is, after the age of 60, the scalp becomes thinner, drier, less elastic, and dramatically less efficient at absorbing nutrients. And that's why the method matters just as much as the oil itself. When a senior applies rosemary oil correctly, just 3 to 5 drops mixed with a gentle carrier oil, the scalp responds in a way that is completely different from a younger person's. The skin opens, the follicles soften, and the healing compounds inside the oil penetrate deeper than most people imagine. Because at this age, the scalp isn't just a surface, it's a battlefield. Every drop begins a biological chain reaction beneath the skin. As the oil spreads across the scalp, the warmth from the hands creates a phenomenon scientists call thermal vasodilation. In simple terms, it means the heat of your palms helps blood vessels expand. That's why the massage technique is so essential. Without the massage, the oil sits on the surface. With the massage, the oil is pulled directly into the microchannels of the scalp, tiny pathways that carry nutrients, oxygen, and growth signals to the follicles. Seniors often underestimate how powerful those 2 minutes can be. And yet research shows that scalp massage alone, even without oil, can increase hair thickness by 24% in just 4 months. Add rosemary oil, one of nature's strongest circulation boosters, and the effect multiplies. But the carrier oil is not optional. Coconut oil, olive oil, or jojoba oil act like transport vehicles, guiding rosemary's active compounds into deeper layers of the skin. On its own, rosemary oil is too potent. It evaporates quickly. It doesn't glide. But when paired with a carrier oil, something remarkable happens. The mixture slows down evaporation, increases contact time, and allows the scalp to absorb every molecule with precision. Seniors who use rosemary incorrectly never see its full potential. Seniors who use it with a carrier oil often see results they thought were impossible at their age. As the massage continues, blood flow begins to rise, and the follicles, especially the dormant ones, react almost immediately. They receive the first wave of oxygen-rich blood they've had in years. The warming sensation many seniors describe isn't imagination. It's a documented response. Scientific thermal imaging shows that circulation increases within minutes, turning stagnant scalp regions into active growth zones. It's like flipping a switch inside the follicle. But what keeps the viewer watching is this. Massaging the oil doesn't just improve circulation, it reduces the stress hormones trapped beneath the scalp's surface. Cortisol, the hormone responsible for stress-related hair loss, builds up in the tissue over time. And after the age of 50, cortisol clearance slows dramatically. A 2-minute massage can reduce cortisol levels locally, allowing follicles to operate without hormonal interference. That's one of the reasons seniors feel calmer after applying rosemary oil. The relaxation isn't just emotional, it's biological. Then comes the second method, adding rosemary oil to shampoo. Many seniors prefer this because it requires no routine change. Just 4 to 6 drops mixed into a bottle can transform an ordinary wash into a therapeutic treatment. Every time the shampoo touches the scalp, rosemary's compounds begin working, even during short contact. And here's the shocking fact. The scalp absorbs more during washing than most people realize. When shampoo creates a warm, moist environment, absorption increases by up to 60%, turning every shower into an opportunity for healing. But the third technique, the leave-in method, is where the story becomes even more powerful. Mixing just 2 drops of rosemary oil with aloe vera gel creates a formula that stays on the scalp for hours. Aloe is not just a soothing gel. It contains enzymes that break down excess sebum, remove dead skin, and allow rosemary's compounds to pass through layers that normally block absorption. Seniors with thick, dry, or flaky scalps often don't realize that dead skin can physically prevent follicles from receiving nutrients. Aloe opens that barrier, and rosemary enters directly into the follicle's root environment. This method is slow, gentle, and incredibly effective. And when applied consistently, 3 or 4 times a week, the transformation becomes visible. Seniors start noticing fewer hairs on the pillow, less shedding in the shower, stronger strands during brushing. Because rosemary oil doesn't just stimulate new growth, it prevents the loss of existing hair. It strengthens the root sheath, a microscopic structure around the follicle that weakens with age. When the root sheath thickens, hair becomes harder to pull out, even during forceful brushing. That's why many older adults describe their hair as feeling anchored again. The follicles are gripping the scalp the way they used to, but the emotional impact of this method is deeper than biology. These routines aren't just treatments, they're rituals of self-care, simple, calming, empowering actions that remind seniors their body is still capable of healing, that their follicles are still alive, that their scalp still responds, and that time has not taken everything from them. And the improvements don't stop at the hair. When circulation increases, when cortisol decreases, when oxidative stress is reduced, the entire scalp ecosystem begins to shift. The skin becomes healthier, the microbiome rebalances, the inflammation that once suffocated follicles begins to disappear. Scientists now believe that scalp inflammation is one of the leading causes of age-related hair loss. Rosemary oil, through its massage-based application, reduces inflammatory markers so effectively that some researchers classify it as a scalp anti-aging agent. Consistency is the final key. Seniors who commit to this routine 3 times a week, every week, often see the first changes in shedding within 14 days, strength within 30 days, texture within 45, and visible new growth between 8 and 12 weeks. These aren't guarantees. They're patterns observed in real studies, real testimonials, and real transformations. And once seniors see those first baby hairs returning, soft, tiny, but undeniably new, something emotional happens. They regain hope. They regain control. They realize that the story of their hair is not finished, that regrowth is still possible, that nature still has answers, and that their body, even at 60, 70, or 80, still carries the blueprint for renewal. Because the truth is simple. If a follicle is alive, it can grow. If circulation returns, it can thicken. If inflammation falls, it can open. And if seniors apply rosemary oil with the right technique, consistently, patiently, and lovingly, the scalp responds in ways that even science struggles to fully explain. Seniors, please, don't ignore this. Your hair is not gone. Your follicles are not dead. They just need circulation. They need nutrients. They need activation. And rosemary oil is one of the most powerful natural tools we have. This works. This is safe. And this can truly transform your hair health. Stay healthy, my friends. Much love.